Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. I was just talking with the guys, and this is season 5 for us. Episode 1, first episode of this new season, and it's crazy. I can't believe it's been that long, so I just want to give us a pat on the back for saying, good job us for making it this long. But with that said, before we jump into this episode, we are going to do things a little bit different this year, and I'm excited about it. We plan to do shorter episodes, but maybe have more, which will have focuses on different things. So obviously we'll have the LCS stuff because we will never go away from that. But I know that some of us want to talk about gameplay because that's important too. And so we'll have separate episodes possibly talking about gameplay, or episodes just focused on talking about, you know, rumors or drama or things happening around the community. So be prepared for shorter episodes, probably 30 to 45 minutes, but focused more on different topics around the league. And hopefully that'll keep things fresh and you guys will join us along. But today we're just going to focus mainly on complaining with about Riot, because there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening around. I'm sure if you've been anywhere around Reddit, you know all the stuff that's happening. But before we even get into that, I want to catch up with everybody because it's been a while and I miss all of y'all, and it's good to be talking about League again. So before we do that, guys, give us a brief update. Let's start with you, Kevin. How have things been? How have your games been? How's the new preseason patches and all of that stuff? But how are you doing overall?
Holidays have been good. I would say preseason, since I've been only playing Aaron, was kind of eh. The changes to Aaron were interesting that they did changes, but they kind of sucked in terms of feel. Like, we just had so many games where no one interacting. We're just hiding behind the walls, and I'm just like, what is this shit? So that wasn't great, but it looks like they're making changes during the real season in the right direction. Other than that, it's good to see Alistar not in the shadows. So
yeah,
as you could tell, we're recording at a different time than usual. So that's nice as well.
Yeah, I'm back at school. School year started, so that's going pretty well. Ranked season also started, also going fairly well for the most part. Haven't played too much on my main, just because early season at that point is kind of rough. But aside from that, everything's been good.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't played ranked on my main yet either. Only been playing on my Smurfs. It's been fun. It's been okay. I do find myself like, I'm like a gold player, but I'm in like high plat lobbies, or like a bronze player in like gold lobbies. So I don't know how Smurf Q or any of that MMR stuff, what they changed. I don't understand how any of it works anymore. It's just all different to me now.
Smurf Q's gone.
Smurf Q's gone, but I guess you just still get placed in different MMRs. That's different from your rank. So it's weird. You know, Riot says they do things, and then it just, you know, I don't know if I believe them half the time.
That's
you get placed based off your MMR, you know, your matchmaking rank.
They also made an announcement saying that your MMR would match your rank, though, like when they remove Smurf Q. So it's very confusing to me how it doesn't fully line up still. But yeah, otherwise I've been good. I've been interviewing for jobs, so hopefully I can get a job. And then I'm going to get a new mic, because I tried to listen to one of our old podcasts.
Yeah.
I always sound the worst, actually. I sound like by far the worst, because I think my headset's really janky and cheap.
I try to edit as best as I can, but having a good mic does help. But I like how you mentioned that sometimes Riot says they do things, but then it's questionable whether it actually happened or not. Like, I know they mentioned like pings, you know, with the new pings, they had mentioned certain features like, you know, pings where if you're far away, it would kind of let you know approximately like where you're at and stuff like that. And I don't see that happening. So, but that bleeds into a more, a bigger topic and of frustration, which is really their communication with us as a community as a whole. And I think that's kind of what we're going to transition into in this kind of rant session, because you know, I think the thing that's kind of spurred this on was ever since the beginning, they changed the LCS days, they changed the LCS times, which they reverted that a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But everything as a whole has been kind of weird and disconnected from the community, and a lot of that has been their communication. But more recently, the cinematic, which everybody gets hyped about for the new season, and I know I usually enjoy watching it because it's really well done. But the cinematic for this year was pretty terrible. It was like drone footage of like Summoner's Rift or something with a little poem or speech that, they try to get us hype, but it was just really bad. And overall, the hype for the new season just fell flat to a lot of people. And I think it kind of fed into even more of that narrative that Riot doesn't care about League anymore, that Valorant is their new, favorite child, and that there's no budget, and that, what's going on. And so I just kind of want to get your opening thoughts on that, because I think that's been the sentiment around the community. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that? I know they've kind of put out some communication to kind of defend that or apologize for that. But anyways, what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
So my thoughts are, as I mentioned earlier, that before the show was, I feel like 2015 just had better things, like in terms of the broadcast, in terms of what, like how it looked like they care, in terms of the quality of the cinematic. Like last year's cinematic was actually pretty good. So it's strange that they just like went with this. They said there were issues, but like the problem is they didn't communicate this crap.
Yeah.
So they let us just speculate for weeks on weeks on weeks, and then it got worse and worse. Like it was already not a great cinematic, right? But was it worth the PR? I don't think so. I think they could have easily been like, oh, we had production issues. This isn't the cinematic we wanted, but we will do better next year. Like, it's so easy to say, dude. So it's crazy that they can't communicate. And then the other thing I would say is, like, I think it's actually worse if this is League is still their focus and the LCS is still their focus.
Yeah.
Because what that's telling me is this is them trying. And that actually reflects worse, I feel like. Because you can still be trying really hard, right? But if you move your key members, like they said it themselves, right? Why do we not have new game modes? Because the new game modes team is on TFT now. And that's just one part, right? This is when TFT was the only other game in town with League. Now that Valorant and all these other games are in depth, maybe all of their best people are passionate people, not necessarily best, but they're passionate people are just elsewhere, and the creatives are just not working on League anymore. So I actually think it just reflects. If I take them at face value and believe they care about LCS the most still, that's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Riot still cares a lot about League. I just don't think they care as much about it in North America specifically, especially when they have Valorant in North America, because North American Valorant is actually competitive with the rest of the world, right? Same with like Brazil. Brazil's also apparently very good at Valorant. League, not really. I just don't. I think they might be trying to figure something out behind the scenes. I don't know. No one does, but what they're doing to LCS is just borderline unacceptable if they're not trying to just get rid of it. It feels like, I mean, they got rid of the face of the LCS pretty much. They moved it to a random time for no point, and I guess not a random time, a time that they think they have like good data for, but it just I don't know. It feels whack.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their data wasn't good enough because they didn't even bother testing it a single day.
Yeah.
They changed it from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. before the LCS even started. That to me is like, I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they changed LCS start time from 12 p.m. PST to 2 p.m. PST Thursday, Fridays, because it works better for me in the West Coast, and I think it works better for a lot of people on the East Coast. But it just shows that they were full of crap, because if they really believed in their statistics, then they would have stuck their guns and then shown we can start at 12 p.m. and then maybe delivered the audience and the community some extra data. But no, they just backtracked instantly as soon as they got some negative feedback. So it makes me think they're just full of baloney. I also think like this narrative that every writer, every person communicating with us, and everybody's whose career relies on like LCS doing well is telling us, the viewers, that Riot is not giving up on LCS. And you know what? They have to say that. Even Travis Gafford, he's like the guy who's, I guess, more on the community side, right? Because he doesn't really work for Riot, but his career still is based on LCS succeeding. So I feel like, if he's telling us, like, hey, look at all these things that are terrible that are happening, but Riot is not giving up on LCS. That's not what I'm hearing. I just, Valorant isn't their new baby child. It just makes me think like, they're all coping, because all the decisions that Riot has made does really, really make it clear that they have put League of Legends and especially LCS on the back burner. So I don't really believe it. I do think that LCS is on the back burner, and Riot thought they could get away with it and no one would say too much. but then it actually blew up and everybody started complaining about it. So now that they're backtracking, right? And then now you have like the LCS head of LCS people like going into interviews with Travis Gafford and them talking about how like, there aren't budget cuts or something. Their communications, we're trying to do better, all this bullshit basically.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, it's like they had their exhibition show match. I don't know if any of you guys watched it.
I watch it.
You watched it? I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't even know it existed.
This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
I'm on the League of Legends subreddit. I watch streamers every now and then, right? I go on Twitter every now and then. I'm very in tune to the League of Legends community. I had not heard about it until League Dead had told me one morning when we were playing games randomly. And I'm like,
Yep.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So Riot's, I mean, apparently that thing got like 40,000 viewers, which is like disgustingly low. It's like super, super low. Lock-in tournament gets around 200,000 views. So when you compare that to what's been going on, I just really think that whoever's behind LCS, just like advertising or LCS like hype up or LCS content producing, just does not know what's going on or does not care or being actively told that you don't have to work very hard. Come in
Yeah.
only 2 days a week or something like that, right? So, yeah, when people sit around being like, "What are you guys doing with your life? What are you guys doing working on?" I think it's a very valid criticism because they haven't been doing the normal stuff that they do. And it's
Yeah, I
very
think
obvious.
I think the big issue that everybody has seen and can agree on is the communication aspect. And they did mention in their most recent video that they've, got a new communication person who's going to be in charge of all of this stuff. But honestly, it's like, and I saw a Reddit post where they just need a central place that they frequently update that, keeps us aware of what's happening. And even if it's good or bad or if there's setbacks, I think the community has said, we're fine if there's setbacks, just tell us or don't promise us things, and then not deliver, or promise us things and then say, hey, we had a setback on that promise. It's going to take a little longer. Okay, well, at least we know. The problem is that, like on Reddit, they've mentioned, yeah, the only communication we get is usually sometimes rioters will comment on Reddit posts or it'll be a Twitter post, and it's like, there's so many places that people have to go to find information straight from the source. And it's like, can we just get like a central spot where, the communication is clear and this is the official source, like we know for sure. And that would just keep everybody happy. Like, it doesn't make sense that we have to search for all this information and whether it's shoddy or not. And we have to wait for Travis to kind of, make some kind of official interview so that we know for sure what's going to happen. But it really doesn't make sense, especially when you said on the LCS thing, like, it's clear to me that there's budget cuts because, we mentioned Pastry Time gone, Dash, like when Dash is cut like that, or like his hours are cut, like it definitely signals budget cuts. And then the fact that he came out and kind of said it wasn't his decision. It wasn't like he was like, I want to step back, or
he just got told.
He just got told
you're out.
You're
That's
out.
it.
And
Are
and
you
the thing
kidding
is
me?
too, like even Pastry Time, like now he just made a Twitter post that he's looking for LCS content, like producer work. So it's like it's not like he wanted to take a step back, even though, sometimes it's like, oh, I want to pursue other things. No, they didn't. They just got, budget cutted. And so, I think, again, the communication there is iffy. If they said, hey, we've got to make some cuts because budget has been down, whether it's COVID or whether it's the FTX deal or what, okay, like we understand, like it's a business, y'all still got to make money. It sucks, but at least we understand what's going on. But Kevin, did you have a point to add?
Yeah, so to read between the lines, like also like the head or the two people they interviewed were both heads of LCS or whatever, heads of esports. And I'm like, do you guys someone need presidents and heads? Like, this is very strange. Like, who's actually doing work over there? But anyways, they said that the FTX deal did, they lost all the money from that, right? They're not getting that. But they said themselves, LCS is still, or Riot is still committing the same amount of money as they did before. And I was like, isn't that just a hole in your budget then? Like, am I missing something? They didn't say like we're making up for that. They very explicitly made sure to like point that out. And I was just like, okay. You keep on saying they're like, oh, the investment into LCS is flat year over year. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I believe that, but you're missing like a whatever 20 million, 30 million, whatever the deal was per year sponsorship. And they said we have a great business development team, so we can make up for that. I'm like, okay, yeah, during this soon to be maybe recession. Okay, yeah, okay, I believe that. So that's an issue. The communication, like it's cool that Twitter is used and like you can get some pretty like more personal one-on-one feeling with the devs, but
Mhm.
we have a client. Okay, the client's not always useful. In fact, a lot of times it's not doing anything. And
Yeah.
then the last part I wanted to complain about, because I can, is that the president dude, whatever his name is, said that people's accusations that they put out all this like news post, the blog, 2 days before Christmas was like on purpose. It was not the case. He was saying that he wanted
I
to give
know,
people
right?
he was like, we want to give people time to bask in the glory of world, and then after that is over, right, and like they get all the world's content, they get to enjoy that, then we could talk about stuff. But we also want to give our team time to take a break and from all the work from worlds. And I was like, they're about to go on like a 2-3 week break. Like, are we not calling this out, Travis? Like, I mean, I think Travis did a good job this time.
Yeah.
He actually called them out on a lot of stuff
Hmm.
and asked hard questions. But like, how many breaks did they need? They were about to take like a 2 week break for world not for worlds, for Christmas and New Year's, so, or for holidays in general. So like, what how many breaks do they need? Like, is it really the same team working on worlds as LCS? Like, if it is, then like, yeah, okay, I know some the broadcast talent is, but you're about to take a huge break. There's no need. Okay, I don't want them to burn out, but like, I think it's a far cry from burnout when you're about to have two giant breaks back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with the communication issues. Alistair, did you have a point? You looked like you were about to
No,
say
not
something. No.
particularly.
I mean, I will say, like, now that they've reverted the times, and you mentioned this a little bit, Mitchell, like, it almost seems like BS, like that the fact that they changed times in the beginning based on their quote unquote data, and then now that they're reverting back to it because they're listening to to us as the community, it really makes me feel like they didn't have the proper data, because they would have stood by it if they really felt like, hey, this is actually going to be better for everyone, the company, viewership as a whole. Even though the community doesn't see it now, maybe they will later after we do all this. It just goes to show that they weren't 100% confident in their data, because the feedback was loud enough for them to be like, all right, let's revert. Now, they did mention a little bit that, East Coast time, there's a lot more East Coast time people, and so they wanted to kind of cater to that. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. And they also talked about English viewers as as a whole, English speaking viewers. So they're obviously talking about Europe as well, and they didn't want to go for it to go too late, especially because it's like a 5-hour broadcast time. So for East Coast viewers, they didn't want it to be too late. So I get it. What do you think? I guess, what's your sentiments with, I know, again, like, what are your sentiments of the actual time change? Does this help you? Does this appease your wrath a little bit that they moved it up a couple hours? I know specifically for you, Kevin and Mitchell, it's still early because you're on the West Coast, but does this help a little bit for you? I know for East Coast it does help me, because 5 p.m. Eastern, a lot of people are getting off work, so that is a better time for us. But for you guys as a whole, does this kind of appease y'all?
Yeah, for me, it appeases me more. Like, it's better. 2 is better. I can watch after lunch and stuff like that. That's great. It's 5 for you guys, and it's like 10 p.m. for Europe, so they could at least catch the best games right before they go to bed. That, I think, is probably the best compromise. And they wanted more of European watcher time because they would have started at 8 before. All I wanted for them was to say what they said right now. By the way,
Yeah.
I'd be flexible. The times are actually flexible currently, so they're
Mhm.
seeing it and they might be able to adjust again. If they told us, "Hey, it's a pilot. We're trying to see if viewership goes up when it's at 12," we'll change it if it's really bad for NA. Like, it's worse than we thought. Okay, sure, whatever. But they
Yeah.
now they made the change and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna keep it flexible." Though I'm like, now you're gonna. So that's my rant.
Okay.
All right, I'll go. Yeah, I mean, it was just BSing a lot of it. Personally, I really like the change to 2 o'clock, because pretty much means I can sit down, eat dinner, and watch the first LCS game. Come back to my room and watch it here,
Yeah.
and it will probably be done by the time scrims start. So it's like a really good time slot for me personally. Obviously, I'm in the East Coast, but The part that bothers me is exactly what Kevin said, where they're just like lying through their teeth, and they know it, and everyone else knows it,
Yeah.
but it feels really shitty. And it's like if you're just gonna come up with some BS, don't back yourself into a wall. There's no point in saying, yeah, our statistics say this when obviously they didn't. So
Yep. Yeah. The times are better for me. Times are definitely better for me. Um, I think even when I get a job too, it'll be better because likely working in tech, oftentimes you get off at like 3 p.m. ish randomly, 4 p.m. ish, and so it's like, hopefully I'll be able to catch some of the good games. I'll just miss the pre-show and stuff, but I think if like you still rationalize it out, right? And you look at it how it goes. Usually the first hour of LCS or the first half hour of LCS is like a pre-show thing. I don't
Hmm.
know what it's going to be like this time, but say it starts 5 p.m. East Coast. People are getting off work at 5 p.m. It's not like they're home ready to watch at 5 p.m. They got to
Right.
drive home. They got to make some food. They got to walk in the house, right? They're actually not going to start watching till like 5:30, 6 p.m.
Hmm.
So is anybody gonna be watching the pre-show? Maybe they don't care because they already know their pre-show numbers are bad. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's still fully thought out well. They just changed it to a slightly later time.
Yeah.
Because then you also go on West Coast, right? It starts at 2 p.m. Everybody's still at work, right? Majority of people on the West Coast work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. So it's still not great for them. They'll show up 4 hours, 3 hours through the broadcast. Um, I'm gonna be honest. It still doesn't feel like it's catering to NA. It's just a compromise, right? Their real secret hidden agenda that they don't want to tell anybody is that it's for Europe, and it's so I think that well, it's nice. It is an appeasement. It's not a win for NA. It's not for NA. And definitely when you have weekends, when it was on the weekends and it starts at 12 p.m. Friday or Saturdays and Sundays, that is for North America. That is
Yeah.
for us. So yeah, it's obvious that it's just not there. It's not for us anymore, and they're saying it is, but it's not. Um, and this is also the crazy thing is that Papa Smithy and people like Mark Z and stuff, they knew about this stuff since last year before
Yeah.
Worlds.
They did.
They've
Yeah.
known about this for like 5, 6 months, and where's the logic? Where's the thinking?
Yeah.
Why wasn't Papa Smithy and Mark Z and every other owner, every other caster that was in those meetings being like, this is stupid. This is not for NA anymore? Okay, you're giving me all these statistics that you just made up, obviously, for European viewers. Why is this happening? So none of it tracks, right? The backtracking, I'm glad it like the result is where it's at, but when you follow along step by step of how the last 6 to 7 months went, Riot is just full of shit, man. So I don't know. I hope things change a little bit. Freak left. Dash
Yeah.
got
That's true.
kicked. Dash, did you guys see Dash's Twitch like thing? He streamed on Twitch
Yeah.
for a bit. The dude was like almost about to cry. He was like, "Yeah, I gave my life, heart, and soul to this product for
Hmm.
like 10 years, and then I get a text one morning saying you're out. No conversation, nothing. I know we already
Sucks.
briefed on that, but like giving
Mm-hmm.
specifics on how devastating that can be to a person. And it's not like it's a company telling him, right? When you work at a place for 10 years, the same product, the same team, you know the people that are telling you to get the hell out. Some dude he knows and has been working with for probably 10 years told him, see ya, bro. Where's the compassion at? So, um, I don't like where the direction is going. If I'm being honest, probably this direction has been going this way for a long time. It's just we're finally starting to see the cracks. We're starting to see how they're really, they're rushing through things. Like they're not double checking their work. They're just giving some product to their boss and be like, "Here, it's good enough. I worked here long enough. You can trust me. It's fine." And then you look at it, it's a piece of garbage. So I'm very upset about all this.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, to me, like Dash is like Bruce Buffer from the UFC. Like I can't imagine anyone doing his job except him, and I
Yeah.
can't imagine the LCS without him. It's genuinely going to be harder for me to watch LCS without Dash. I was at Worlds seeing this man up on the stage 3 months ago, making the entire spectacle essentially. He was doing a great job being the hype man, and now he's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah. It also sucks for him because there's nowhere to go. Like, what esport are you gonna go to? Overwatch League? Like, there's no like major esports that's growing that could use a host like him. He has the caliber. I will say multiple things. We said as a broadcast or as a podcast, burn it all down, right? Like LCS is failing. Like in the prime location meant for NA, it was doing worse year over year. People were caring less year over year. So is this the right solution? I don't. The first iteration of the schedule, I don't think so. But
To be
it
fair,
is something
it's not
different.
exactly what we meant, but
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, but
Yeah.
monkey's paw. But I'm just
Fair
saying,
enough.
like, they tried something, and I don't agree with it because I'm the NA people, right? I really care, but I'm in the minority, and it's a shrinking minority, so it's not necessarily wrong. It's probably wrong. My issue is Riot does the special where they have a plan, like they have a solution, and then they make up or they find whatever data fits it, and then ignore all the facts, right? The other thing is Papa Smithy and Travis did tell us this was leaked months ago. We knew this. We in this podcast we said 6 months ago LCS is moving to weekdays and it's in a weird time slot. We didn't know how weird it would be. To be fair, we didn't know it would be as stupid as 12, but we knew it was going to be in a bad time slot. I think. They were trying to leak it because they could, they still work adjacent to Riot. They can't like literally say, "Hey, I know this from our meetings," but like we've heard in the industry, and so the community was up in arms, and then they just ignored us for 5 months and said, "Yeah, we had no idea." So that is really frustrating. They're trying stuff, and the last thing I wanted to say was, I think the broadcasts might need this though. No one watches the analyst does. Like
That's
Dash
true.
is a great host, but he's a great host for a sinking ship. Like he could be the best captain in the world, but if the iceberg is right there and they're on the Titanic, it doesn't matter which captain it is, right? Maybe we need to get out of the boating business. I feel like if they have a suitable product that's actually interesting, let's say they just cut down to like 5 minutes between games, right? Just like snappity quick, and then the analyst is at the end. Fine, that's great. Until I see the product, I still am gonna get a little bit hopeful that cutting Dash out is like the necessary evil for a very clean broadcast. I highly doubt they're gonna do that though.
I mean, part of the. You can go ahead.
Okay, well, I actually like that the positive take because yeah, it is when it come to burning it down. Sometimes this is what it looks like. This is the kind of the growing pains you do have to go. So if we're trying to take a positive spin or like a silver lining spin on it, I guess I kind of agree that I just didn't expect it to go like this. Um, and then maybe we can say that hey, Riot is just trying to learn how to better communicate through the burning it down sort of ideas and changes. Because yeah, if we're being honest, changes need to happen for LCS to succeed. And this is the changes that they came up with, and we weren't happy with them, but what are we going to do? Are we going to be happy with any change Riot makes? It's kind of hard for Riot to just make a change that everybody's happy with. To be fair, no one was happy with it, so that's the thing you could improve on. So yeah, we did need a burning down. We did need a grand change to see what would happen. And I think a lot of us on this podcast most of last year were saying if we take a downturn this year, it's fine as long as we come back better in 2024, right? If we go 0-18 next year at Worlds, whatever. But I think we were talking more about like the LCS teams and the players and not really thinking about the product and overall in the broadcast and stuff. And yeah, that's a big deal. I think that's something that we can learn on to think about too in the future when we discuss it. But it's concerning though, because when you do look at the roster, we're not going to talk specifically about the rosters. When you do look at how big the rosters are this year and how crazy they are this year, and yeah, there are rumors that like their overall salaries are lower and the budgets put into LCS teams are lower, which is kind of what we were asking for. It's kind of it feels like there's a disconnect between what's going on with Riot and how they think of LCS, and then how the LCS teams and orgs how they think of LCS. Doesn't seem like they're on the same page. You bring back Double Bjergsen, you bring over Prince and Vikla, right? You have all these crazy signings for this year, and then Riot does a totally different direction at burning it down and going in the opposite direction. It feels like it doesn't feel like things are going to improve in time for next year because of the diversion, right? That like it's just we're in a weird spot. So and we're all speculating before the LCS broadcast has even started, but it doesn't feel like comfy. This doesn't feel like a good burning it down yet so far.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to what Kevin was saying about like the analyst desk, especially, and to me, it
Okay.
feels like if you look back at what people would call like the golden days of the analyst desk, right? Those are the days when they were like doing things. They weren't just sitting there talking about something that we all know that we just watched, right? They were doing things.
Yeah.
They were also doing extracurricular things, like they were LARPing as rich guys for some Earth tournament. They're just doing dumb shit for fun. That's completely gone. We're just sitting there and watching them, and we don't really care. Like, sure, they can definitely say some things that are worth listening to, but I'm tuning in to watch games, not 45 minutes between the games that's longer than the game itself of monotone people speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not entertaining. It's not what people are there for.
Yeah.
And I think it can really I think that's the issue with the analyst desk for me
They
personally.
tried to like professionalize it too much instead of just providing entertainment for their audience, which the audience like wants to see dumb stuff. Like we don't,
Yeah.
we don't really need to see like, their analytical stuff, which again, for a lot of us who watch, like their analytics weren't that great anyways. Cause we're just like, yeah, we could, figure that out. But yeah, production value as a whole was just crazy. Did you have one final thing, Mitchell?
Yeah, I got one final thing actually about the analyst desk is I I think what happens is okay, so they actually do still have segments, but we're just not interested in them as much because I think the actual people that they have doing analysis are just not as interesting or not as good at it. I find myself it's really hard for me to care about what Emily Rand, Raz, and whoever new people are kind of talking. I maybe it's just because of who they are and how they match with me or the community, but I find that the rest of the community is kind of on the same page where they don't really care what they have to say. They're newer, they're not from here originally, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like either it's a them problem or it's like LCS didn't create their narratives well enough. I don't know what's up with that, but like I used to love just Jat and Azale and Kobe and Dash sitting around talking about random shit and then sometimes analyzing the game. That was fun, even if they weren't doing stuff. And then they would go do stupid stuff too. That was great too. So I do think it's something about the people that are actually on the analyst desk, and I also think like it's also something about how the overall player base has gotten a lot smarter about League of Legends. So when the analysis that takes place on the analyst desk, the quality stays about the same. Like the actual in-depth analysis is about the same from what it was all the way back then to now. But the entire community as a whole, if you're watching LCS analyst desk, right? Like you already know what the hell they're talking about. You've probably already thought about what they're talking about, or you've heard what they're talking about in the post analysis of game two. They say the same stuff in post analysis of game one, but with different players and different champion names. So I think it's also a mix of, we're just too smart for them, like for what LCS has to give us now. Because when I do go over to LEC and watch some of their stuff, and I listen to Cadril talking about something that I have not heard about, it's because he's a pro player and he actually knows something that most of the general audience will not
Yeah.
know. So I think that's also a big deal. Like you combine all those things, people we don't care about, plus the things that they're talking about aren't that interesting or aren't that in-depth analysis, stuff we already know, just leads to none of us wanting to watch it.
On
So
top of the length too. It's half of it's longer than the actual.
yeah,
It feels like they're longer than the actual games most of the time.
yeah, the length is ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it just goes back again to they don't know their audience real well. Like maybe it was meant to get new people to come along, but it missed the mark with probably a majority of the audience, which is like people who are seasoned players, have been playing for a while, and so they tried to keep things new and fresh for newer players or whatever, but they missed the mark with us who actually watch it and stay with it. And again, going back to your with the people thing, I think it's again going back to your audience. Like we like the people that kind of were homegrown with us because it's that sense of like, yeah, they kind of came into this just stumbling their way forward, and like here they are. Like I'll take them, no matter what they say. It's just they're ours, right? So, but yeah, let's wrap things up and just I think overall like the whole frustration with the community is just that the communication has been terrible. Riot as a company, to me, their culture just hasn't been good. I mean, they've had the whole thing, even going back to, you know, the sexual harassment stuff. And then now with their employees, like kind of just being, you know, let go and then kind of being forced to say, oh, it was my decision, or like I get to pursue other things, when really it was Riot giving them the axe. Like, it just doesn't seem like Riot as a company is a good place to work at. It just seems really crappy. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but just from the public persona or public eye, from what I see as just a layman outsider looking in, just doesn't seem right. But anyways, I want to wrap it up there because, you know, this was a Riot complaint session. We will talk about next episode, really the thing that I'm most hype about, which is the LCS rosters. Like, you know, I've been waiting to do that episode, but we wanted to wait till all the dust kind of settled and everything is pretty much finalized. So we'll get to dig into that next week. But that's pretty much it. Any quick final thoughts from you guys? Just real quick. Yeah, go ahead, Alistair.
Who needs a caster now?
Oh, ayo.
Oh, yeah, an LCK. Yeah, that's funny. Good for him.
Yeah, he's finally made it out of the LCS. And, you know, again, yeah, like, I mean, just like I said, casters, like, that's good. I would love to see more pro casters just on the, you know, like you mentioned K-Joel, Mitchell. Like, again, that would be something that would up the production quality. But, yeah. You know, so anyways.
I got a last thought. Honestly, as much as we complain about Riot, I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt that of gaming companies, you could do a lot worse.
You could be Blizzard.
Very
it could
true.
be Blizzard. It could be Activision. It could be EA Games. It could be so many things. So
very, very true.
You know, we will still continue to complain about them, but it'd still be worse, right? That's why we
complain because we're passionate, because we love this game and we love the LCS. So look, we'll keep complaining. All right, well, that's it. Thank you again, Kevin, Mitchell, Alistair, for our discussion just on this topic. But until next time, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.